September 25th, the new Fox Tuesday kicks off with New Girl's new season. Then welcome Ben and Kate.
Stay away from my sister before you find out what 6 years of Krav Maga feels like. Well, like year and a half plus like 4 years on and off I was traveling.
Followed by another all-new New Girl.
What am I looking at here?
Pure, unadulterated friendship.
And the Mindy Project.
Can't believe you're tattling.
Tattling is when a little girl does it, okay? When a hot woman does it, it's called whistleblowing.
The new Fox Tuesday, premieres September 25th on Fox.
You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AfterBuzz TV's So You Think You Can Dance After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's So You Think You Can Dance After Show.
There it is. What's up, boys and girls? Bing is for doing, and we're here doing the finale episode of Season 9, So You Think You Can Dance. I'm your host, AJ Gibson, joined by my lovely co-host, Corrine Williams. How you doing, Corrine?
What a dibber.
And Kristyn Burtt, as always.
Hi.
Also, we have a special guest in studio tonight. Emmy-nominated choreographer to the stars of Dancing with the Stars, Spencer Liff. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. What's up, guys?
We are so glad to have you. He's missing the after party right now, you guys. If you guys are So You Think You Can Dance fans, you know they party big, and he's here with us, but we are also partying in the studio. He brought some champagne, so
clank,
we appreciate
clank,
that.
Clank, clank, clank,
right. I'll drink mine in a minute. So finally, right?
Finally.
Episode 15. It feels like we've seen 40 episodes. It's been an exciting summer, but it's been a long summer. We had a break with the Olympics, and then
4th of July.
4th of July.
You and I started in May.
Yeah.
My niece was visiting from Atlanta back in the day.
Yes. That seems like so long ago.
It was.
And here we are.
Yet
another
longest
season
ever.
Ever.
And the latest we've ever gone. Usually I'm packed up and gone back to New York at this point.
Which is wild because it's actually the least amount of episodes we've ever done.
Yeah.
Correct.
They only do one a week now, so it dragged on and on.
And on.
and on.
And on.
Thank God, though, we had some All-Stars because this was the season of the All-Stars. It wasn't even an All-Star season, but midway through...
It was the Twitch show.
I was just going to say that. It was the Twitch
Every
So
week.
You Think You Can Dance.
Well, why wouldn't you want to watch him every week?
I know.
Amen.
Because he's hot.
He is hot.
Holla.
I don't think anyone disagrees on that.
Twitch, I'm hollering at you too, just so you know.
Holla, tweet me
I don't know
down.
what you into. I'm just
Oh.
playing. No, so I think instead of going
he
through...
dates Allison.
What's that?
He and Allison Hooker are an item for a while now.
Sorry, Allison.
Really?
Did we not know this? This is
No.
public knowledge, I think.
Really?
Now it is.
I've been hitting
Sorry
on
about
him the whole
Let me
season.
tweet
They're
that
a very,
out.
very cute couple. You leave that be.
I don't. You know why I don't look into this? Because when I know I don't have a snowball's chance in hell with the guy, I don't want to know a thing about him, so I just don't look. I never binged him once, but I'd love to bing him. Wait, Bing, Google. No, just playing.
I guess I won't tweet him anymore.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Bye,
back off that. Back to Brandon.
I hope you can just like blow their cover. I thought that was
Back
public
to
knowledge.
Will.
I'm tweeting it later.
Of course you are. Of course you are.
At Spencer Liff told me.
Hey, you've been here for 2 minutes. I'm already in trouble.
And apparently he'll
Dun, dun,
never know
dun.
because he doesn't tweet very often.
I don't tweet, but you can. I do tweet now. So if you want to follow me, please do.
Well, we're going to get you some Twitter followers tonight.
Sweet.
Our Facebook. Do you
Nice.
do Facebook?
I am on Facebook.
See?
I am. I have a fan page and a regular page, and
That's
I post
nice.
things on there. Like I'm a bit of a caveman when it comes to
I love
the
it.
internet, but
Like it's 2005.
Nice.
Our 1995.
you can page me at.
There you go. So you guys, tonight we're going to do it a little bit differently. The finale is always kind of a funny episode to cover. We've seen all of these dances for the most part before, but before we get into how we're going to do things tonight, let's just first off say that the judges were joined tonight by a bunch of the Well, not the best choreographers, clearly, because we've got that one here in the studio. But the judges, obviously Nigel and Mary, were joined by Tice Diorio, Debbie Allen, not Debbie Reynolds, as I stated in the. I think that was the first episode of the season. I called her Debbie Reynolds for a moment.
Yes,
She, old white lady now. Adam Shankman and Lil C were on the panel tonight, so we got a lot of judges.
Swagalicious tonight.
He did say Swagalicious.
He always makes up words.
I ain't mad at it.
That's his thing.
It's interesting.
I wish he were
don't
on the
love
season
it.
more because he makes up a lot of words and he's always fun, and he wasn't on the season a lot.
Nope.
At all.
I mean, Mia Michaels got her own episode.
True. True.
No comment. I'm not gonna ask.
He could have replaced Zoe Deschanel that week.
The world's worst host.
Ever.
Or judge.
On the show.
Did I say host?
But I still love Zoe.
I
Zoe,
do.
I love you.
her. I love the show. I love her.
Yeah.
But not as the judge.
She's great on New Girl, which we're going to talk about later, but not so much on So You Think You Can Dance.
Being a guest judge is hard. You want to be funny and you want to say like insightful things. I think Christine Applegate does a good job because she knows what she's talking about.
We
She's funny and, like,
love her.
She likes me too, so that's why I like
Yeah, and she happened to judge the week that you were.
She's judged a couple of the weeks
choreographed.
that I've been on, and she's always very nice to me.
Oh,
She
that's
loved your
nice.
Tiffany and Cyrus dance.
She did. She did.
Do you guys go out for cocktails afterwards?
No, we didn't. Actually, my very first week on the show, I used her song from Sweet Charity because she was on Broadway in that.
That's right.
And it was a terrible number. It bombed. But other than that, it was a great song that she used.
I love it. I love it. Oh, so tonight though, we did have a couple of new performances. The show opened with a Christopher Scott, Sonia Taya number, and I wrote down incredible use of sound, lighting, and fans. I don't know how much attention I paid to the dancing, but I thought like the special effects were amazing. I thought the dresses were stunning. The navy blue like flowy material they used was great. I think it all went together perfectly. I have nothing to say about the choreography. I'm going to leave that to you guys.
Well, I will just say that lighting, they did win an Emmy this week, so
Oh, well, there you go.
that is a good thing to point out.
Yeah.
You know what I noticed, honestly, was actually the last move. There was a great toss right at the end, which probably was the highlight of it for me, just because it was a great, spectacular climax to the dance. But, I mean, the problem is, and we talked about this when we were watching it, was that Nigel set it up as like the greatest group dance ever. And so you, in your head, it's like up here, and it was a very solid group dance, but I don't know if it was the greatest one I've ever seen.
Well, let's just be clear about something. There will never be a large group number ever. Like the what season was it? The Rama Lama Ding.
Yeah.
That song. That
Wade
number.
Robson's amazing.
Unreal.
Bang Bang.
Right, that's what it was. Ram Lama Ding Dong. Well, I was close. But I still randomly about every 6 months I'll go online and just watch that number just because it's phenomenal. It's so just like you said, to set it up as being this great piece of work. I mean. It was great. It was good.
I thought it was beautiful. I love the fact that Sonia and Chris collaborated. I would love to be able to collaborate more with some of the other choreographers on the show because our styles were each there to represent such a different voice. Right. So when I was watching it, I was kind of picking out, and I know them so well now, so I'm like, I know who did that part and who brought that to the table and all of that. But I think that they should start letting us do that more, kind of teaming up with our buddies. I would love to do like a Nappy Tabs thing, and and just kind of take what we're good at and combine to make something really cool.
I like that you brought that up. So if you had your choice of all the choreographers to put you on the spot right now, who would you work with?
It's funny, Nappy Tabs and I, we're totally different genres, but we have fought over similar ideas in the past. Like our brains kind of work the same way. So I'd love to work with them. I love Chris Scott. Travis Well and I have known each other since we were little, and that would be fun. But I think in general, I would pick whoever was like opposite end of the spectrum of me, so that I could kind of bring my thing to the table and they could bring theirs. But I thought it was a beautiful number tonight, and the way that they were sliding across the stage was, done so well. And it's hard to do such a complicated piece like that with one take live, go around, because so many things can go wrong. But I thought it came off really beautifully. I watched it live, and then I watched it tonight back on TV, and I think it was shot really well as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what do they wear on their feet as they're sliding like that?
I was looking at that. They have these little
see.
like special booties. They have these. They're like called lyrical booties or things that they had on. Usually they'll dance barefoot, but the girls had that on their feet so they could drag them around.
Yeah, because I was imagining like if that was me, my toes would get stuck.
Yeah.
So.
No, definitely.
The sandal soles. I don't know if they still wear sandal soles, but
these are like they're new little like lycra ones that you
fancy.
put on. Because dancers have nasty busted up feet.
I don't know if you know this or not, but Kristyn was a dancer back in the day.
Corrine
and I, nope.
Hip hop.
We dance in the club.
In the club.
That's right.
In our cars, in the mirror.
While we're driving. No, we don't condone that. So I want to go into all of our favorites. I want to see what you guys think. And since you were the special guest tonight, I'm going to let you start. What do you think of the evening? It could be a new number, it could be an old number. It's kind of hard to put you on the spot since you know all these choreographers and all these dancers. But What was your favorite number of the night?
I loved Chris Scott's new number. I thought it was a really I love numbers that look like scenes from movies or that can play out, and that really was a really cool story driven. It used cameras really well. It had a really good build to it. Those are the things that are important to me that I like to bring to my numbers, is making sure that you kind of have some arc in it. And I thought it was done really well. And it also made me jealous because I want to dance my own piece on the show.
I was going to ask you that.
I've been telling them for years. I'm like, can we please have choreographers week? Because there's plenty of us that would love to dance. Like, instead of the All-Stars one week, we can do it with them because no one's going to do your choreo like you do. And it's funny because you see Chris demonstrate for the other dancers and it never looks quite the same as when he does it. So it was really great to see him on stage to do his thing with 3 incredible dancers.
Well, that makes me wonder because I look at some of the choreographers, and we saw Tice dance this year.
Twice.
Yeah.
Wait, what was the other one? I know he did
He did.
I think they just showed it.
Gene Kelly one because Cole was injured that week.
That's right. The opening number, right? The group number.
Yeah.
Some of the choreographers, it's kind of like I relate it to sports. I come from the world of sports, and just because you're a coach doesn't necessarily mean you can actually play the game anymore.
Sure.
Some of these choreographers can still dance, but how many of these choreographers could actually go out there and still do these numbers?
Oh, totally. I mean, Travis, myself, Chris, a lot of the ballroom guys can.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen Melanie do several numbers over the years with her contestants. It was funny. Nobody got injured this year and had a last second. Well, it's over now. You don't have to knock on wood. Usually seasons there was one stretch, I think season 7, where every single week somebody got injured.
Yes.
And the choreo or the assistant had to step in last second, which is like so awful to have to do. But
well, I think it's interesting.
Tice could. I'm trying to think of the other. I mean, I know.
Could Sonia go out there and dance one of her numbers?
I think Sonia could. I think Stacy could.
Yeah.
You have a lot of young choreographers too. I mean, that's the other thing, and no one's in their 70s or.
Yeah, but then I look at like I'm just saying this is
Mia
just completely.
Michaels?
Yeah, I was gonna say Mia Michaels or Doriana Sanchez.
I
don't think they're gonna go out there and do those numbers. But that's okay. They've had they're the best at what they do.
But he's had 2 great ideas of how to mix up the format, like collaborate and then also have the choreographers dance.
Well, I think that they're wary of doing choreographer week because it would be too similar to Dancing with the Stars, I guess, which is where they're dancing with the pro. But I think people that have gotten to know us for years now, I think would find it fun to watch us do our own.
We would
numbers.
love it.
But I also think though that, and this is just me speaking freely. Certain choreographers, if they're not able to go out there and do the numbers, they might not like that idea so much. Like you look at somebody like Mia Michaels, who had her own episode this season. No other choreographers ever had that, and she had an entire episode this season. But
I can't. She's not on that week.
Well,
that's exactly. We rotate all the time.
But that's his point.
I don't know if I'd be too.
Feathers might be ruffled.
Yeah, if I'm Mia Michaels, I don't know if I'd be happy with that.
But I'm worthy of my own hour. I'm worthy of my own hour. I don't need to be like dancing with a bunch of other choreographers.
Right.
It's different. It's weighted different.
She probably still would want to be involved. You say fine?
She'd be a judge that week.
Would
harsh?
Would you dance a Mia Michaels number? Would you let her choreograph you?
Of course, I would love to.
Yeah.
I would love to. I would love to dance. That's another thing. Maybe we would have to dance each other's numbers.
Well, I know that. Well, that'd be interesting because I know that the dance world is very they're very uplifting of each other. They're very encouraging of each other. Is it the same feel in the choreography world, or is it a little different?
No, it absolutely is. I was terrified my first season on the show that it was going to be this little bubble and everyone was going to be really mean and competitive, and I got in there and because it's such a stressful environment and nobody else quite gets what we go through every week. It's this big camaraderie and everybody welcomes me in with open arms and we're there for each other because it is so scary to put yourself out there with such a short amount of time and we don't have control over so many issues. Nobody gets what it's like to choreograph on that show except for us. Mm-hmm. So we really do have each other's backs. And when you are next to someone and they have a killer number, you can commend them because we're up against all odds to produce something really good every week. And
it's interesting that you say that, though.
I respect it.
We've actually had a lot of past contestants on the show this season who have all said that they think it's almost as hard, if not harder, for the choreographers on the show because they go through. It's so stressful for them. Yeah. They're trying to constantly not just outdo each other, but more importantly, outdo themselves. Exactly.
Yeah, you have to bring something new every time. If you had a hit the week before, there's even more pressure.
Yeah.
My first week back on the show after the Emmy nom this year was like, well, crap, I got to prove that I was worthy of that now. And we can control so much. Except for the most important thing, which is who dances your piece, which you don't find out until the night before. So I've learned now over my 4 seasons not to plan too much and to have a really good idea of concept and idea. And then when you find out the dancers you have, you go to the drawing board and you're like, what is this actually going to be now? Because if you plan on amazing technique and triple pirouettes and double tours and you get Cyrus, you're screwed and you have to totally reimagined.
You have to start
it,
shaking.
so-
You got a nice double
gotta
pirouette out of
start
him for
shaking.
someone
gosh.
that
It was
not
so funny.
have a lot of technique.
I fought with the producers over that double pirouette, and it's funny. In the moment, he screwed up, and the tie didn't get thrown the right way, and he did it so much better. And I spent hours with him doing that, and the producer said, "Take it out. He can't do it good." And I was like, no one else has made him do it yet, and I want to show what he can do. And
Well, I actually want to get more into that later because that was definitely a complaint of all of ours this season that we didn't feel like the contestants were pushed enough. But we are going to talk about that. I'm actually very excited to talk about
I've got
that.
things to say.
Well,
We like that.
we love that. But moving on though, I'm kind of curious to see what your favorite number of the night was.
Dragon House.
Yeah, okay.
It was Dragon House, and I said, this was my favorite number I think of all season, just because it was different, it was exciting. We talked so much about. Were you guys going to choose?
You just took ours. I'm sure. I was going to pick that one.
That's not mine. But,
But I do feel like we talked so much about Cyrus as an animator, and we got to see little glimpses of that throughout, from his solos, and they give him solos in some of the group numbers and things like that. But it was fun to see the group together because we saw their story too from Vegas on, or I guess from Atlanta on.
There were like 13 of them living in the
Vegas.
house or something.
I know, for like $500 a month.
that's like the only thing you guys remember about that.
I would love to pay $50 rent.
Me too, but ain't happening.
But they'd moved all the furniture out of the dining room. Like I remember that. It was an interesting story.
That's what you do when you're young and crazy.
It is totally true. I remember being young and being in theater and my first apartment, we'd all move everything to the walls. We'd all practice scenes in my living room because I thought I was going to be on Broadway or something. You actually have been on Broadway. I know, but
no, but that's how I choreograph in my living room.
well, there you go. And so
there.
Okay, I love that he just said that because I wanted to segue really quickly. We had the Ninja Twins on the show tonight, and they actually did the same thing in their piece. Nick and James, they brought them back and showed the little clip a little bit.
I like that.
They did the same thing. They choreographed in their living room, and those guys are hilarious. They're one of the highlights of the season for me. How sad is that?
Well, they were the highlight of the season for the show. Clearly,
Too
they
funny.
got a little.
Besides that Spencer Liff, how about you, Corrine? What was your favorite number of the night?
Well, I'm going with Little C's pick when swagography.
Oh, that was my next favorite. Oh, you guys are killing me.
Choreographed by Luther Brown, Get Your Life, Twitch, and Whitney.
I loved that.
Because Whitney gets down. Like, she loses all her behavior and she just turns into like a completely different woman. And I'm like, I get in. And of course, she's dancing with Twitch.
Well, and just remember, she's a ballroom dancer. It's really hard. Like when you've been trained your whole life to sort of get out of your genre. I was trained in ballet and I did musical theater. However, asking me to do modern dance, and I always talk about this like syncopated rhythm, like getting out of my 8 count was so hard for me when I would go and take a modern class. I'd just be like, and I have to get down to the ground and feel earthy. But Whitney was able to transition very nicely in that piece.
And that
She
not
murdered
only swagography, hairography.
Honey.
Whipping that
everything.
weave around.
I'm like, you got you little
Everything.
Sasha Fierce up there. I'm like, where did that come from?
Shaking her body. I get it, girl.
She's phenomenal.
And the
She really is great, and
love her.
I think we will see her on Dance with the Stars in the next couple of years.
I would hands down. You knew
Absolutely.
that's where
You think Lindsay too?
I would think so.
I don't know. I think I worked with Lindsay this season. I didn't work with Whitney. I wanted to work with Whitney at some point because I think she brings this really star quality to the table. And I was around for one of the choreo judges conferences that we have about who to kick off that week, and it was Whitney and Audrey, I think, were on the chopping block, and every one of the choreographers, and Nigel said this on the show, every single one said, I'm sorry, you got to keep Whitney, she's a star. We all wanted to work with her. We all thought she had the biggest shot of kind of getting to the end and winning, so you can't teach what she has.
Yeah.
And that's what's great. She'd be great in Dancing with the Stars.
She's got a great
She's-
light. She's just a shining star.
I think the only issue Whitney had, because there's something about her when she performs, she turns it on. She's got that thing, whatever it is.
Charisma.
Yeah.
It factor.
The intangible. She has it. It's when she's not performing that she never really connected with voters, and that's why I think she was on the bottom so often, because she looked like she was.
I think young girls are intimidated by the
Yes.
sexy girl, and
Yes.
those girls have gotten kicked off time after time on the show because nobody wants to vote for like the slutty looking girl. Well, they don't connect to that.
You
They
heard it
want
here
the-
first.
They want the Tiffany.
Spencer Liff says Whitney's a slut right here on
God,
AfterBuzz.
great.
I'm just kidding.
Soundbite that.
I think that when she dances, no. I think that when she dances, yes, she does come off sexy, but I disagree with you. I think that she's turns back into like, oh, I'm cute little Whitney.
I thought she was
from
very
Utah.
shy, actually.
Yeah, very,
It's
very
fun. There are
shy.
so many little blonde Mormon dancer girls, but when they get on stage, they will turn it out.
Turn
it's
it,
just
boo.
something. Maybe it's like a little bit of repression or whatever.
That's what they do in
let it
Utah.
out.
Okay. I'm so
They
glad
watch
this just
hip-hop
came up.
videos.
We've talked about this so many times this summer. Maybe you can give us an answer. What is it with
You were absent the
dancers
week we got
and
this.
Salt Lake City? I was gone that week.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
People have asked me about this too. They just have great studios there, and I think that, I mean, I don't want to generalize. I think they appreciate the arts, and they'll spend the time and the effort to put their kids in the arts. And I've known there's a ton of great Mormons on Broadway, not just in Book of Mormon, that have great training. And there's been a ton of kids from Salt Lake that have been on So You Think over the years.
Benji and Heidi, were they Mormon? Or they were just from Salt Lake?
I don't know.
I don't know who's actually. I mean,
really
and again,
fun?
not to say like everyone from Salt Lake City is Mormon.
Right. That's what it was. I think Benji was from California.
I think they have great. I think they have great studios there, and that's. I mean, there are pockets around the country that do. Like Colorado has incredible studios. There's been a lot of kids, Kayla and. Other kids have come out of the same studio and gone on So You Think. It's just kind of like where the good teachers are.
And I just found out a little bit ago, you guys, for all of our viewers and listeners out there, that he's good friends with Kayla and lived with her for a while.
I do. Well, I stay with her when I'm out here. She assists me on everything I do.
We actually all the co-hosts we talk about early in the season who are our ideal guest star, and she was like my top 2 or 3 girls ever. She's phenomenal. I always think of the Kayla and Capone number that they actually got to redo this season.
Yeah.
I can't remember who did it, but
it was Lindsay and Cole redid it.
Yeah, and I enjoyed it. It wasn't the same.
It wasn't the same.
It wasn't the same.
It was nice.
A lot of those numbers that night. It was a weird thing.
It was an odd night.
The only one that I liked just as much, if not more, was the door number that.
Cyrus and Eliana.
That Cyrus and Eliana. That was the one, and it started the show, and I went, "Oh my god, this is going to be so cool!" And then it went down.
You know what's funny? I actually loved the bench number, and the bench number for me is so iconic.
No, that's like the number. If you ask me the number one most iconic dance of all time, it's that bench number.
Me too, and I actually liked the new one.
I didn't. I thought they bombed it. I really did.
Really?
Because sometimes it's just this moment captured, and it's not even like it doesn't go that well in dress rehearsal. It would never go that well on tour, but when they hit it on the show, it's just this special thing, and to recreate that even with them, let alone with other people, is not going to happen. Often when you see the dances again on the finale, they're not the same as the first time, because wherever the dancer is in that moment, in that place and time, there's magic that comes out, and sometimes you can't redo that.
I think the original, when the dance was done originally, it was the collapse on the slow collapse on the bench was so phenomenal. It wasn't the same this time around.
Didn't see Travis winning. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah.
Exactly. I do see that. So on to my favorite.
Yeah,
I'm really glad you guys left this for me. I fooled you guys all along.
You better get
my favorite number of the night by far. Really? You have to guess? Cyrus and Twitch. Are you kidding me?
A
couple of fine brothers breaking through a glass wall. I mean, that's like my dream. Those guys were so hot.
You want to be in between them.
I do. I'd love to be in between them.
I
think that Twitch has this thing about him, and I saw Twitch has this thing about him where I say it to Corrine all the time. There's just something about when. In those little moments, there's these little nuances in his dance. The way he just moves his hips and the way his eyes kind of like glisten a little bit. The way he like kind of grins at the camera. Like he knows how to work that camera.
He was looking at you.
But I wish he were looking at me. But tonight though, I feel like this is one of the rare situations where I feel like this dance was actually better than the original. I really enjoyed Cyrus tonight. I watched Cyrus a lot more tonight. I did not watch him at all the first time around.
Well, I think it's interesting too because we watch it back to back, so it's not often that we see a number one week and see another. And he obviously was probably more comfortable with the choreography and the performance, so that's where you saw him step up.
I have to disagree with it. I wasn't incredibly thrilled with this number either night. I would have much rather have seen Cyrus and Comfort's number again, which I thought was unbelievable and so cool. I was on that week, so I got to see it. You know, when you're on the show, you see the numbers 20 times during all the camera blocks and runs and everything. And that number was great every single time, and they nailed it on the show. And it was just another one of those interesting, I think it was overhyped, and I expected more from Cyrus and Twitch. And I mean, the glass moment was incredible, but there was just more character and just more interesting movement in Comfort and Cyrus's for me. I would have rather seen that again. I thought that was one of the best numbers of the season.
I wouldn't have been upset with that. We actually had Comfort in the studio, what, a month or two ago?
She's gotten so much better than she was when she was on the show.
First of all, she's a phenomenal dancer, way better than she was when she was on the show. And we talked about that a little bit. I said, I remember when she first came on the show, she was fish out of water.
2 years under her belt, though, when she got on So You Think You Could
Exactly.
Dance.
And she's such a well-rounded dancer now, and even more so, she is literally one of the nicest girls I've ever met in my entire life. Her mom was in the studio with us, and you see exactly why she is the way she is, because her mom is adorable.
Yeah.
And she's going to grow up to be just like her.
And one thing I really want to point out is, and you don't get to see this as much, but we've got Comfort in studio, and you get to see how big or small people are.
Tiny.
She's
She
super
is so
tiny,
little.
and she's such a big presence on stage.
Oh, yeah.
So that talks about not only how she is as a dancer, but as a performer overall. And I think that speaks volumes when you're able to see a performance like that, because that was one of my favorites of the season with Comfort.
I think they brought her back and realized how good she had gotten, and they continue to bring her back.
Yeah.
There really hasn't been a lot of hip hop girls as well to bring
No.
back as all stars. I mean, it's been a barren category for them.
Yeah, she's definitely the go-to
She's
girl.
the girl.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like Twitch is the guy. Like, we've had lots of hip hoppers, but
Yeah.
Twitch always, he's the
Because
mainstay.
but he's also, when he was on the season, he's good at everything.
Yeah.
I met Twitch we both did the Hairspray movie, which was before he was on the
that's
show,
right.
and he wasn't there to be a hip hop dancer. He was there to be
was a regular,
like he was
yeah.
a regular. He was just a dancer,
Yeah.
and we used to Adam Shakeman used to host parties for us to watch. So You Think You Can Dance? It was season 2 at the time, and we would go over to his place, and he would throw these big themed parties, and we'd watch it every week. And the next season, Adam was on as a judge, and Twitch was on, and we were all so thrilled for him.
I love that, and I love the
That's a good
support within the
story.
dance world and the dance community. I love hearing about that. But I also want to hear about something else. I want to hear from our iTunes listeners. I want to hear what you guys think. We've all gone over our favorite numbers of the night. I want to hear what you guys think. I want to hear what your favorite numbers of the night are. I want to hear what your favorite numbers of the season are. It's been a long, fun season. We're heading into hopefully season 10. Fingers crossed next year. No word on that just yet, as far as I know. But we want to know what you guys think. We want to know what you guys think about our show as well. There's a chance all three of us could be back next season, and if you guys give us some guidance, we'll change the show up, change the format, do whatever it is you guys want to hear from us. But we want to know what you guys think of us, so we can all improve ourselves as hosts, because we do have other shows coming up. Kristyn and I have a show actually right after this. Corinne's got a couple shows on this fall here at AfterBuzz, and we're here to learn. We want to be better hosts. So what do you guys think we can do to be better hosts? So please comment, rate, please give us 5 stars, and tell your friends about us. Tell your friends about AfterBuzz TV, and we really appreciate you guys, and we really have enjoyed your
Comments and
listening.
feedback.
Yeah,
Give us 5 stars, but tell us what we can do better.
yeah,
Bottom line, that's what AJ's telling you.
absolutely.
We love you,
Always
AJ.
room for improvement.
Yep.
So we want to talk about tonight's finale. You were there.
I was there.
You're
I
behind
came
the scenes.
Give
from
us
there
the
straight to
juice.
here.
Give us
So
the juice.
give us some gossip. What can you talk about? What can you tell us about the show? What's it like finale? Is there a different feel? Obviously, I would assume there would be, or is everybody or
Are
the
they
final
over it?
are the final 4 contestants nervous, or are they just ready to move on to the next thing?
It's strange this year because they've had a week. I mean, with the new format, they didn't just do their finale last
Right.
night. And for the last 3 years, I've had a number on the finale, and it's always so stressful. They have a quarter of the time you usually do because they're doing 4 dances, and they're getting ready all of the dances at the same time that they're going to do for the real finale. So they're so overloaded. Last year, they were on IVs, and
Wow.
Sasha
Wow.
was in the hospital up until an hour before the show was running because
Right.
they're just so exhausted. And I said to myself every year, I'm not doing the finale again. And I didn't do it this year. And they had an easier season than they ever have this year. So it was a little calmer, but they also had a week to prepare for tonight, which is why you saw a lot of new group numbers. They wouldn't have been able to do that in previous years because there would be time. I do think tonight was probably one of the best finales because of that ever, because there was a lot of new material. There wasn't, a lot of fluffy, wasty time. But the finale's great. All of the choreographers can take a breath and know that we're done for a year on the show, and we can turn off the wheels that are constantly ticking in our
Right.
brains to try to come up with something great for the next week. But I personally was totally surprised. I had it pinned on Cyrus and Tiffany, and I really thought they were going to take it. So, you stand there and it's funny. It's like you're watching Miss America. You've also gotten so invested with the kids, the choreographers. We stand in the audience and we hold hands, and you're like, who's going to win? And on both the counts, and it was the first time, obviously, we had 2 winners. So you had that feeling
Right.
twice. And I was surprised, and I'll be honest, I was happy. I like when the technique wins out. Nigel said it last week, and he said it was a little weird, but when you spend, God, these kids have trained their entire lives, and for them to have trained in the studio, and for ballet to get to win in the end, and technique to win, I was happy with that, because I've danced since I was 4 years old. And not to say that what Cyrus does isn't any harder, or it's just that I just like the fact that the 2 people that won tonight, I thought were the most technically deserved.
And it's interesting to me that 2 ballet dancers
2
won, the 2
ballets.
technically trained dancers won, because as a viewer, and again, I'm not a dancer, but I noticed historically, it's difficult for ballet dancers to really connect with the audience. They're such technicians, and they're so disciplined that they often have a difficult time really, I guess, getting through to the viewers.
Yeah.
And this season, Keon and Eliana, especially Keon, came on late, I think. He was kind of a late bloomer, and I really started to feel for him like the last 3 or 4 weeks.
When they brought on his mom, that's when we all started. Like, he's this crazy, funky mom that's kind of awesome.
And he cried on stage. That does it for me every time. Yeah. I'm a sucker for a tear.
Cheap tactic.
Here's my thing, though. This is what I want to know. Eliana, she is trained as a ballet dancer, but she does not have a typical ballet dancer's body. She doesn't move necessarily like a ballet dancer. And I thought, last week they had her do this ballet number, and they're like, that was phenomenal. And I'm like, for a ballet piece, it was okay. Honestly, come on, it wasn't the most. It wasn't out of like New York City Ballet or anything like that. But I thought that Eliana and Tiffany were fairly well matched in terms of technique. I mean,
yes, absolutely. And I worked with Tiffany last week, and Tiffany can literally do anything you ask her to. And I don't want to say that Tiffany didn't have the technique, but to me, Tiffany had the personality. Yeah. Eliana was great and had a personality too, but if you were going to call one or the other, she had the technique, and Tiffany had that great, likable girl next door, as Nigel called it, personality. But getting to work with Tiffany, she killed that number for me. I had her in this Broadway piece, 2 weeks ago. And she's the kind of fun girl where you can say, do this, she does it, you try that, do this, So I think, and Nigel said it tonight, she didn't take a misstep. I don't think she was ever in the bottom. She kind of rode the middle for a ways and then punched, to the top quickly. Yeah. Mandy Moore's piece helped her do it. Yes, she had that piece the week before I had her. And, they text us after the show, and when they draw the new new numbers for the next week, we get text by the producers saying who we have that week. So I got text, and I got told that I had Tiffany and Cyrus, and so I went back and watched the show, which was just starting to air on West Coast time. And I remember seeing that piece and getting so excited because I hadn't ever really paid her much mind. And then I saw her do Mandy's number, and I thought, this girl's incredible. I can't wait to work with her.
Well, we talk early on in the season a lot about the duplicates. There's always a lot of duplicates on the show. There's a couple of blonde dancers.
Lindsay Whitney.
Yeah, and then Audrey and Tiffany. But this season, the duplicates kind of stuck around for a while because Lindsay and Whitney were both there towards the end. They got rid of Amber, and they got rid of Amelia, the ones that were kind of original early on, which which really surprised us. Although Alexa was a weird one because she was such a great dancer, but they tried so hard to shove her down our throats, I think, through the audition process, that by the time she actually there's nothing dead in the face.
There's always those, the girl Janaea who got kicked off very early on. You probably don't remember her. She's an incredible dancer. I've worked with her previously, and she got 0 camera time, so nobody knew her.
Yeah, and also just to be clear, when I say that some of these people, like every single person on the show is obviously phenomenal. Just to get to this point is just ridiculous.
Yeah, don't YouTube comment us.
And don't tell us how we're a bunch of haters. I can do anything
way
they
better
do.
than all of us.
But no,
they do step on the show. Some of them an unfair advantage. It's a show it's a television show. It's entertainment, and so some people get great backstories, and they come to the show with a lot of fans already. And then there's people that don't, and they have to work twice as hard to make themselves known in those first week or two. And if you get screwed with a bad number in the first week, and you haven't had any play time in the audition episodes, you're gone.
Yeah. Or you have no chemistry with the partner you've been paired with.
And you have you get stuck with the partner that the producers think you're going to be a good match, and it does not always.
Can I ask you a question? And I have to ask this just from my perspective. I want to know. Personally, the only issue I've had with the show, I think, over the years, as a gay man, watching the show and seeing the comments that Nigel tends to give some of these guys. There's a lot of guys on the show that are obviously gay. They're never out on the show. No. As a choreographer, is that something you guys are very aware of? Are you trying to choreograph masculine numbers for these guys? Are you trying to choreograph? Because very rarely, especially when two guys dance together, it's always a very manly number, except for the one number with Kent and... I interpreted it as
Neil.
Neil and Kent. I interpreted that as a boyfriend number, but Nigel was very adamant about describing that it was a friend number.
Yeah.
As a choreographer, is that something that you're aware of when you're choreographing for guys who are trying to appeal to those young teenage girls? And is that the reason they're choreographing that way, to try to keep them in the competition, or is it really that there's a fear of, because things are so different than when the show came on 9 seasons ago?
True.
It's a very different landscape now. As a choreographer, is there anything you can speak to?
Yeah, I think that in general, I I enjoy watching a masculine male dancer be on stage when I'm watching a Broadway show. I want to see a guy dance like a guy. So when I choreograph, that's the aesthetic that I want. I don't think it has nothing to do with trying to represent them a certain way. And I certainly don't think the producers ever say to any of the kids, don't talk about being gay on the show. Boy dancers are gay. They often are.
Right.
I think that when you have a guy and a girl dancing together, you're going to make them be guys and girls. And there's passion there that you want some sort of chemistry. And it's not my place to choreograph for someone's sexuality on the show. You know, if they are comfortable wanting to be out or not, I don't need to. You know, when I had Jacob on the show with Lindsay recently, and I wanted them to do, it was like a shadowy dance, and I didn't mind Jacob, you know, he didn't mind getting a little like sassy with it. And, you know, at the same time, I was like, I don't want you to dance like a girl on TV and make, you know, it's not about, I don't think we're trying to push those boundaries on this show. It's about the contestants dancing well. And I think that kind of takes a back seat. I love, when I'm on stage, I love dancing like a dude. And I think that it's why I've been successful in Broadway is like I come across as a really guy that you could see walking down the street, but then I happen to be doing a pirouette while doing it.
And it's not that, to me personally, I can only speak for myself, it's not offensive at all. I'm just kind of curious because you look at other reality shows and you look at other shows that Nigel Lithgow is a part of. You look at American Idol and
they don't talk about that either.
They don't, but then you watch a show like The Voice where they're loud and proud. They're more than happy to talk about it. So on different reality shows, there's a different vibe. And I know a lot of the past contestants, and I've never really thought to ask it before, but just as a viewer, I was kind of curious.
Like it wouldn't be, I wouldn't sit down and with the contestant and be like, can I choreograph a gay dance for you this week?
That's not what it,
No, and I think you're getting
like,
at some of the comments that we get from Nigel, and we've heard from some of the contestants that sometimes Nigel's comments are a little...
He really goes very far with some of the girls.
But yes, he does. But I mean, hands down, I'll tell a guy in my audition rooms, like, sorry, dude, you have to dance more manly. Like, I don't want to watch a big old girl on stage. And that, I don't have a problem with that. Guys are told that all the time. And it really isn't crossing a line to me. You're being an actor. If you're going to be an actor and play a straight actor, you have to look like that.
Well, and dance is so physical too. So and guys traditionally are going to be the ones that are doing all the partnering and the lifts. So you want that.
And I think some choreographers do push the envelope a little bit. I've seen Sonya do it a couple of times where some of her numbers are a little bit like, okay.
Very
she does androgyny, which I don't mind. I don't mind that at all. And I loved the number with Ken and
loved it.
And Neil. And to me, it was a gay number as well. But like, I think that came out of Travis's mind, and it was probably a relationship that Travis had. And Travis is an open gay male and is comfortable with that. But if those two dancers wanted to interpret it as friends, then that was their doing.
Absolutely.
And if that's who wanted to watch it, but I watched that and I saw a really beautiful piece about two boys breaking up and having a hard, you know, that's what I saw it as. And it was beautiful and it was sexy and it was manly at the same time.
And I think probably depending on who you are and how you're viewing it, you will see that dance differently. I saw it as
but you know
two boys in love with each other.
We didn't hear any controversy around it, and you know, America loves to cause controversy over the most random things. So if they were like, it's the gay dance, and so you think you can dance, we would have heard it.
Yeah.
Well, there was a Holocaust dance. I mean, a few weeks ago, and that
again tonight.
And tonight.
It's funny. I will say they specifically didn't say that word when it was on the show 3 weeks ago.
Right, and this week they said Holocaust.
Yes, I literally grabbed them sitting. I was sitting next to Maddie Moore, and I said, did she just say the Holocaust?
Holocaust.
As someone who just came from Dachau in outside of Munich, I will tell you it was anything but holly and jolly.
But clearly it was just she just didn't say it quite right in the moment. But I'm like, she just said it was a Holocaust dance.
But she did have a big red flower on her dress, so that made up for it.
She was decking the halls.
She was decking the halls. I like that. Maybe that's why she called it the Holocaust.
Maybe she's making out under the mistletoe.
They did not say anything about it being a Holocaust dance when it was on during voting, and I don't think they wanted that to affect votes either way. But, you know, it's funny that Tice did that dance in the UK on So You Think You Can Dance. It was done already. And Nigel made a comment, I don't know if it was on air or during the dress rehearsal, that it's very different what they consider entertainment over in that side of the world and kind of what would pass than what we do. And the U.S. has a different relationship to that time period. And so I thought it was interesting they brought it back. First of all, it's a stunning number. It's a beautiful piece of music, and like all of it just was so nice. And it could have been anything. It could have been Kosovo, or it could have been just immigrants getting pushed out or losing.
Who knows?
I mean, it didn't have to be that, or it didn't even have to be anything with death related. It was about having to leave something behind and move forward. It could have been immigrants coming to this country, but you know, it was about the Holocaust, and that, you know, sometimes what the dances are about become more important than the dancers doing them, and that is an unfair advantage to some people.
Well, you know who's really good at doing that? Mia Michaels. All of her numbers are words about something like cancer or a loved one lost or something.
Relationship.
Yeah. Oh, how about when Nigel? Let's not. What's your opinion on this? When Nigel called her out a few weeks ago, did you watch this episode where he called her out about one of her numbers? He said, "Mia, that was about your unrequited love for a gay man." I'm like, couldn't you have just said unrequited love and left it at that? But he had I'd never heard.
Or how about Sonia all season?
Out her,
Like Sonia, you're in love and you're softer this season. Like we've heard
Nigel's calling everyone out.
Everyone's like personal.
I don't think they
stories.
mind it. I don't think they care.
We're so, I mean, what we're in the mood for at the moment, it comes across. I went through a breakup earlier, and I wanted to do a piece to The Man That Got Away from Judy Garland. It was going to be lovely and deep, and, you know, I had this whole theme planned, and the producer came back and he goes, I just think it's a bit depressing. Funny enough, that was the week that there was a Holocaust dance on the show. So I'm like, my breakup dance is depressing, but
that's
no,
not.
but I think, you know, obviously where the places that we're at in our lives affect, you know, what's going on, how we want to create.
As with any good artist.
That's an artist.
No different than Taylor Swift in every breakup.
Oh my God, I love that new song. We are
never
never,
getting
ever,
back
ever.
and get
I
back
can't deal
together.
with her.
Back
Love
together.
it. Oh no, he
Jake
sings too.
I love it.
Dude,
I wish
really?
Kanye had kept her off that stage.
I
And
know.
she'd never come back. I'm just saying.
She's dating a Kennedy. It's not going to end well. Come on.
Nice.
Who's way younger
Didn't
than
she bought like a house
PS.
next to him in the Hamptons.
Yeah,
I'm like,
and-
that's a bad
Well, and
breakup.
I
And
was
the
like,
family's over
What
it.
22-year-old wants to date an 18-year-old boy? Come on. When you're 22, you want to date a 30-year-old
I thought
guy.
he was like 17.
He's still in high school.
Party's over.
Well, yeah, I'm
she
32 and
can
I would
drink.
date. I would date a 22-year-old.
You're a guy, though.
I would date a 40-year-old.
Guys is
A girl
different.
wants to date older. A girl doesn't want to date younger.
I guess.
How are we getting
We
to
don't
Taylor
do that.
Swift?
Cougars.
Let's move on to something a little lighter. Before we get into our discussion of the winners of tonight's finale episode, I'm going to pass it to Corrine. We got some stuff we're going to talk about. Some big week coming up on Fox next week. You want to talk about that?
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, you put me on the spot.
Okay, girl, get it.
Well, you know, guys, on September 25th, our show is coming back, New Girl. So holla, get your life.
So funny.
We all love Zooey Deschanel in it. We were just talking about her being a host.
Not
on-
a judge, not the best judge.
Excuse me, a judge.
But she's
on-
funny.
So you think you can dance. We got a few cackles when she was the judge, but we're going to be cackling more on her show, New Girl. And
Absolutely.
we have new shows premiering on Fox, which are totally awesome. Ben and Kate. Which
Have you watched the premiere for Ben and Kate yet, Kristyn?
I have not.
It's hilarious.
You've seen it?
Yeah, on Hulu.
Really? It's the only one I haven't watched yet of these.
It's
I watched
so
Mindy
funny.
Project.
I hear it's the comedy of the season. They're calling it.
It's
I haven't even heard of it at all, and I'm so aware of what's going on TV.
Yeah,
and
Ben-
I've seen all the other new shows.
hilarious.
I watch them on Hulu Plus as well. It's
you
saves
never
me.
seen a commercial?
No, I have no idea.
They're saying
I
it's going to be
can't
the breakout comedy of the season. Ben and
What,
Kate.
who is on it? What is it about?
Don't even know.
What does
Funny.
the poster look like? I don't think I've seen anything.
I don't know the guy's name, but it's basically the premise is he's like taking care of his sister, so to speak. So,
That could be funny.
And the sister has more sense than he does, and she's really young.
If my sister and I had a show, we'd be funny together.
There you go. She loves it.
And this all premieres on the 25th,
On
correct?
the 25th.
And then
don't forget the Mindy Project.
Oh, the Mindy Project. I have to tell you guys about the Mindy Project
seen
real
it
quick.
twice.
I've watched the premiere twice actually as well.
I saw it on the plane.
Mindy Kaling is hilarious. Have you seen this one?
No, I haven't seen this.
Oh my god, this is hilarious. Mindy Kaling basically plays a doctor, struggling through the woes of trying to fall in love in this world. And she is I think we talked about this before, but she is the next Tina Fey. She really is.
Yep.
She is absolutely hilarious. She's unlike anyone on television right now. I love to see a strong Indian American woman carrying a show the way she does.
I want to have cocktails with her and be your best friend.
Oh my god, she's hilarious.
Go to Whole Foods on 3rd.
Yeah. So if you
She's
guys
always in
if you guys are
Hollywood.
looking
I
for a
see
new
all the
spot
time.
for some comedy, Fox Tuesday nights. When does this premiere?
On the 25th of
On the
September.
25th at 8 p.m.,
Next
you guys.
week, get your life.
Check it out. Stick with Fox.
It's a great lineup.
You can't go wrong.
Nope.
Moving on.
Thumbs up.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So we get down to the finale of the finale of the finale. A lot of
Don't
finales.
touch
So again, whether we like it or not, we've got a male winner and a female winner.
When I predicted wrong.
You did predict wrong.
Completely wrong on both sides.
I was right on both of them, wasn't I?
Yes, you were.
Who knew? Spencer, I'm the smart one in the room, just so you know.
Nice. Good.
Excuse me,
Good to know.
I said that too.
Did you? We agreed.
She
We
did
are-
call it too.
Yeah.
I was wrong, and I've been around.
He's
around
like,
them
I
all.
know them.
He knows
But it's
them.
also because like I feel like I assume I know what America's gonna do, and I feel like Cyrus has been on the path to winning this entire season. so to see him not get it at the end, I was all right. Well, there you go.
You know, it was really interesting too. I've said this actually a couple weeks in a row. I think I was like, Cyrus can write his ticket. He's already won this, and the fight was going to be between the girls. However, I took a People.com survey, and they thought last week they were like, "Who's going to win?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm going to vote Tiffany, and I'm going to vote, for Cyrus." And when it showed you the results of the poll, it was just an online poll. It said Eliana and Keon. So I was like, I wonder if that's going to happen.
Well, you know what happens a lot of times in these reality shows, and I've seen it a million times on other shows. When you think somebody's safe, you assume somebody's going to win. They don't, because people don't vote.
Yeah.
That base doesn't get rallied to give you an election.
Yeah.
Some election
We talked
terminology.
about that. He and I did an Emmy show today, and we talked about like Modern Family's guaranteed to win Best Comedy, but someone else may sneak in there.
Maybe
this year.
because everybody just assumes they're going to win. They won't vote
Exactly.
for them now.
But you know what's interesting is the fact that just because these two people won doesn't necessarily make them the winner. Look at Ruben Sutter and Clay Aiken. Nobody remembers Rube.
Yeah, and what if you J-HUD, what'd she get, like 5th place?
Yeah, but
And
now
what's she doing
She's
now?
got a
Look at
friggin'
her.
Oscar.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hello. So I'm just saying,
those
putting it out there.
often, and on our show too, I've sat and watched the guy I didn't think should win, and he's won before. I won't say who, but it happens. And
I want to know.
No, because they're all deserving. Who I want to win isn't necessarily the same, but I think I came on season 6 was my first season. I would watch always, and I don't think I ever was happy with who won the show. It was because it's America's favorite isn't mine, isn't what I see as a dancer and somebody that I like, and
Well, I'm glad you brought that up actually, because winning isn't always the best thing either. We actually were talking. One of the guests on tonight was actually Carly Rae Jepsen, Canadian girl, and actually Kristyn and I both watched the same documentary tonight on E, I believe, and they're talking about her story, and she was on actually Canadian Idol.
Really?
And yes. She's on Canadian Idol. She auditioned last minute. Wasn't even planning on it. Her family and friends convinced her to audition. She's like, I'll give it a shot. And then week after week after week, she kept hanging around. She ended up getting 3rd place, while the top 2 contestants on Canadian Idol both signed into contracts with Idol for a year or 2 after the show. She got 3rd.
Where are they now?
Exactly. She has the hit of the summer and another top 5 hit out right afterwards. She's blowing up right now.
She's
So
rep by Scooter Braun, which is a big deal.
right.
She was just on Ellen today. I saw her.
That's right. So winning isn't always the best thing.
Exactly.
Well,
I just lost my big.
He's sleeping.
I just lost the Emmy on Saturday, so maybe it wasn't.
You're the best.
You're really the
That
winner.
was
That's what this means.
It was actually kind of a big upset that Smash sort of came in and won.
I don't know.
Come on,
mean,
I was reading some articles, and everyone kind of expected someone from So You Think You Can Dance to win.
We've taken it for so many years in a row. But I think that, it's very interesting. There hasn't been a big scripted show like that to compete with us in a while, but there's a huge difference between what they do on Smash, and I know because I'm on Smash as a dancer. I was in all the numbers that were nominated.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, I'm
love that
around
show.
for the weeks of rehearsal that we get, and then the directors and producers come in, and there's notes, and we change things, and then the show, one number has 5 hours to shoot from a million different camera angles, and they edit it perfectly, and the choreographer Josh, what he does on there is amazing, and he's incredible, but it is a different thing than what we have for 5 hours with 2 dancers and 1 live take. They're just different entities. So it would be wonderful, I think, in the future. And I know that there's, people out there that are trying to get it split into 2 categories, into like a, reality and
Live and
award
taped.
shows, and then a taped. They are just 2 different things. But the numbers on the show are incredible and totally deserve to win. And I think that it was the first time something's come around that could have taken it from So You Think You Can Dance, and they gave it to them.
I'm actually glad you brought that up, because it's like comparing apples to oranges. I'm a huge fan of Smash, and now that you say all these things out loud, I'm putting 2 and 2 together. You have to know Leslie Odom Jr. Yes, I'm in love with him.
Oh, yes.
Not just because he's beautiful. We're actually Facebook friends. We chat sometimes. He's a great guy. But he's one of those characters on TV right now that, to me, for whatever reason, just really speaks to me. So to see Smash win, I was kind of a little bit excited, even though I love So You Think You Can Dance. It was nice to see another show get a shot. But it is comparing apples to oranges. At the same time, though, like, you guys, how many choreographers were nominated for So You Think You Can Dance?
This year,
all
3.
of them.
And how many Smash numbers? Or how many Smash, whatever.
One choreographer.
Well, there's one choreographer that does the whole show.
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of spread out the vote. I mean, if people,
guess so.
you know what I'm saying? Like, if
No,
people
it's
are fans of So You Think You Can Dance, they've got 3 people to choose from. If you're a fan of Smash, you've got 1. So
It's also weird. I mean, Travis was nominated this year, but for Dancing with the Stars, not for our show. So that, is a little strange. But as well, Josh has done a number. He did a group number on So You Think You Can Dance last year. So it's like everyone that was nominated has been on So You Think You Can Dance at some point.
It's a great launching pad for everyone.
It is the best place to go and be known as a choreographer, and it has lifted us all to great heights. And I'm a young choreographer that has gotten nominated for an Emmy now for my work on the show, which is, there's nowhere else that you could do that.
You are always going to be Emmy nominated, Spencer Liff.
Exactly. And it was the coolest thing ever to sit there and like be at the Emmys, and they look, it's the Creative Arts Emmys, but it's in the same place that they do the real Emmys, and the set's there, and there's the giant Emmy statue, and you just like feel like you're living this childhood dream.
You know when that title will change though?
What?
When you become Emmy winner.
Get it.
Or Tony
Or
winner.
Tony winning.
Tony
Yes.
winner.
Well,
He's from theater.
which would happen, which is what I assumed it would be first. I was like, I'm going to win a Tony, and then you're like, maybe I'll win an Emmy.
You will.
But it's the strangest thing ever to sit there and listen to your name be called, and like time kind of stops, and it's just
Who presented your category?
Funny enough, Mary and Nigel did, and they did this wonderful presentation on So You Think You Can Dance, and talked about how incredible all the So You Think You Can Dance choreographers were, and then they read our names, and they said the winner is Smash, and it was very funny.
That's heartbreaking.
They said they were like devastated for us as well, but of course,
Did you have a speech ready just in case?
No, I literally a few days before I thought like, well, what would I do if I won? And I just decided that I needed to thank the dancers that were in my piece, because people haven't done that in the past. And like those are the people that brought our work to life. Especially on that show, I choreographed it for those dancers, and they breathed life into it. So I wanted to thank them, and then the producers for letting the show exist, because I'm just proud to be on our show. I think it's so wonderful for dance, and it's such an incredible community to be part of, and that was just important for me to say thank you to that.
And as a choreographer, though, don't the best choreographers come from a dance background, I would assume? I mean, I don't know a lot about dance, but weren't they all dancers at some point?
Yeah, I think every choreographer was a dancer.
Yeah. Exactly. Like I said earlier, I come from the world of sports, where you don't necessarily have to be good at a sport to be a good coach. Whereas choreography,
you better be.
Well, it's very different. I mean, what inspired you to choreograph? Because not every dancer, I was never a dancer that ever wanted to choreograph or anything like that. And I know that you assisted Rob Ashford.
Yes.
Which is amazing, to work with him. I mean, was that the person that was sort of your
Big
mentor?
Broadway guy, if no one else knows.
Huge. I know.
He's like the Broadway director choreographer.
The Broadway geek meter just started going like this. But I mean, like that's. I mean, and when you did Big, you worked with Susan Stroman. So that's another huge Broadway.
I did.
That's amazing.
Corrine and I are just going to walk out of the studio and I'll let you guys geek out for a little bit.
My first job ever was with Tommy Toon, who is
I know that name,
legendary as well. And
He's
I was
tall like you.
I was, like 7 years old on tour, and I watched him work, and I thought I was going to do that. And so I've always known I wanted to direct and choreograph, and I worked with Rob Ashford on a show, The Wedding Singer, and he met me in that. And then the next show we worked on together, I asked if I could assist, and he said yes. So I learned everything I could from him, and
that was Crybaby.
All of that, yes, that was.
I like Crybaby.
That was the musical of Crybaby, and so I was an assistant and associate choreographer for a couple years on a number of different Broadway shows before I kind of branched out on my own. And my first thing by myself was So You Think You Can Dance. I had a meeting with them, and I put together a whole audition reel and sent it in, and they called me up, and they're like, "You're going to be on the show in a few days," and I literally felt like I was going to vomit. For the whole, I still feel like I'm going to vomit when I'm on the show, but that's how I kind of said I'm not going to assist anymore. I'm going to do my own stuff.
Good for you. I mean, here's the interesting thing. When you're a Broadway choreographer and you're asked to do a classic piece that maybe has been done by Michael Bennett or Bob Fosse, names that we know, how do you go and make your own mark and make your own stamp on it? Because it's challenging. To do something maybe original or unique.
Yeah, I've used West Side Story music before. I've done a lot of Fosse's my idol, so I have to go the polar opposite of whatever it was done. I did a number to Cool from West Side with Catherine and Robert, I don't know, season 7 or 8, and I set it really modern and made it an interrogation room scene, and I got my brain as far away from what it originally was as possible so that I could choreograph to the music, which was so great, and not think about what was already done to it.
That's amazing.
Well, you seem to have settled in just fine into the choreography world.
Yeah.
You don't look like you're about to vomit.
You're fancy.
You're out
No,
there.
we all. You should see the choreographers are all of us. Even I sat next to Mia on the last episode that she was on, and even she was like heavy breathing and because
Wow.
it's
I can't
so
imagine.
nerve-wracking. And millions of people are watching something that came out of your brain, and you have no control over what's going to be done on stage. It's so much easier to just dance it yourself.
You know what? Bottom line, you're Emmy nominated.
Thank you.
Emmy
And soon enough,
nominated.
you will be Emmy winner.
Yes.
I'm absolutely certain of
Tony
it.
winner.
Yeah, absolutely, of course, right?
I'm gonna come here every day. To make you guys
Well, I know. We thought we were going to try to wrap this thing up quick so you could get to your after party, but we kept you here a little bit longer than we expected to. But it was such a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for, first of all, for the wonderful choreography and for the wonderful insight into this season. Where can our fans follow you on Twitter? Yeah.
I am newly on Twitter I'm at Spencer Liff. I also have a website, spencerliff.net, which my mom made for me. She did a really good job.
That's so cute.
And I'm also on Facebook.
Okay, nice.
All right, I'm at Kristyn Burtt, KRISTYNBURTT, and my website is redcarpetcloset.tv.
And Corrine?
At Just Saying 08. Get your life.
You guys can follow me on Twitter at _AJ Gibson. Also check out my website, ajgibson.tv. I want to thank you guys for stopping by all season long. Make sure you check out all of our other AfterBuzz shows throughout the fall. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Take care.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.